Welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin. It is Monday, January the 8th. It is 7 p.m. We welcome those here in the council chambers and those attending virtually. If I could ask for those to stand for the national anthem, please.
Hey, you making that survey?
Yep, with Typeform.
Typeform?
Yeah, it's this really simple form builder.
Municipality of Central Elgin acknowledges that it is located on the land of the McKee Treaty that was signed by the Wyandot and Anishinaabeg nations, including ancestors of Chippewas of the First Thames First Nation. It is also the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Attawandaronk, and Mississauga Nation. These First Nations continue to provide ongoing stewardship of the land and waters of the Municipality of Central Elgin. Council, can I ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Councillor Halpin, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sloan. I would like to disclose against item CAO 0124 as my children derive benefit from a staff salary.
Thank you. We don't have any delegations. Minutes. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes? Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Connors, Councillor Halpin.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Connors, seconded by Councillor Halpin, that the minutes for the regular meeting of council dated Monday, December 11th, 2023, and special meeting of council dated Friday, September 15th, 2023 be adopted.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. We can't see Councillor Bachman, so we're going to have to do a recorded vote. If you wouldn't mind, Ms. Leach, thank you.
Councillor Graham?
Yes.
Councillor Halpin?
Yes.
Councillor Watson?
Yes.
Councillor Connors?
Yes.
Councillor Bogman?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble?
Yes.
Mayor Sloan?
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Moving on to correspondence. We have a letter from Mr. Russell Crosby about council giving consideration of funding for the reconstruction of new Sarum Line as part of 2024 budget deliberations. Questions or comments from the council? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Sloan, to staff. Is this already contemplated anywhere in our 5-year capital plan, or do we have any notes or awareness of the matter?
Mr. Brooks, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff is aware of the letter and the condition of new Sarum Line. And staff will be bringing forward a 5-year capital plan as part of the 2024 budget. Right now, New Sarum Line does not sit within that 5-year capital plan, but what staff can do as part of that 5-year capital is put some preliminary numbers to New Sarum Line to present to council what the costs might be for this project, and consideration can be given to the project.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Deputy Mayor Noble.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Brooks, can you tell us when the last time possibly that road had any improvements done to it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would believe that the last time New Sarum Line was reconstructed would have been when it was owned by the MTO, when it was part of Highway 3. It's been quite some time since any work has been done there.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Noble. Councillor, I believe is to take it to council. Is that not what it calls for? I might be wrong. Funding for reconstruction consideration be given as part of the 2024 budget deliberations. Okay. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Noble, if I could get a seconder, please. Councillor Watson, but before that I have Ms. Greenall.
I'm sorry. Was this a motion or was a recommendation for a motion? So it's a recommendation for a motion. Would council wish to proceed with that recommendation?
I'll put that to council.
Perhaps I go back to those who moved in second. The recommendation that is put before you.
It's recommendation of consideration, so I think we're
Yes.
quite
Okay.
is that okay with you?
Yeah. So a motion to
Okay.
consider.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Greenall.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that the correspondence from Russell G. Crosby dated December 5th, 2023 be referred to the Budget Committee for consideration as part of the 2024 budget.
All those in favor? You could call the vote, please, Ms. Leach. Thank you.
Councillor Graham,
No.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Moving along, receive for information. We have a letter from Grant Jones, our friend who's the chair of the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, as well as the Elgin County Council highlights from December 6th. That seems like a lifetime ago, and I guess it is. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Halpin, thank you, and Deputy Mayor Noble.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Councillor Halpin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that correspondence items number 1 and 2 be received for information and filed.
All those in favor? You could call the vote, please, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Moving on, our next report is from the Chief Administrative Officer, CAO 1024. You've said you had a conflict, Councillor Halpin. Are you leaving the room or are you staying in?
There is not a need for me to leave the room, only to not comment or participate.
Oh, okay, thank you. I will pass this over to Ms. Greenall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, I have presented a report for your consideration. Annually, the municipality of Central Elgin looks at its staffing wages. Back in 2022, the council passed a bylaw of which to accept the human resources policies for the corporation. Included in that bylaw or in those policies was an annual compensation review. In that annually, non-union staff wages would be assessed and they would be adjusted by CPI with a cap of 3%. This year, CPI was assessed to be 3.3% as of October in 2023. Therefore, we would apply the cap of 3%. I'm bringing this to your information so that you are aware it is a policy that we do like to apply. However, we also understand that it does have financial obligations of this council as it impacts your budget and budget deliberations. I provided for you information of our neighboring municipalities and providing the wage increases that they will be applying as part of their budget discussions for the 2024 year. Most of them range in the 3 to 3.3% range. A few also lower by 1.5 and 1.75. So council, for your consideration is the application of an annual wage increase of 3%.
Thanks, Ms. Greenall. So let me get this straight. I'm going to vote on a raise for myself. I don't have a conflict and it'll be 3% and I will gain from that. But perhaps I have a conflict if someone that I'm affiliated with would also receive what everyone else at Central Elgin would have as a conflict. I just, please, before our friends at Airden Burles get summoned, I just want to know if I can get some counsel. And I'm not asking you to put yourself out there. I just would like confirmation because we sometimes need some instruction on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I can see the concern. So our policies apply to our staff, and for anyone who may see there's a perceived conflict in that their spouses or significant others are receiving that benefit, it can be a perceived conflict. This also can be applied to council itself. You are having the conversation in open. And because we're just talking about application of wages, yours is not a wage in that it's enduring, it's for a 4-year term. And it applies to those who hold the seat, both before and after.
Thank you, Ms. Greenall. Can I declare conflict in my role as mayor for discussing my own salary?
I would have to get legal opinion for you, Mr. Mayor.
Just curious. Thank you. I don't mind to put you on the spot. Councillor Halpin.
Thanks. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I can't weigh in on what the council decides to do on this, but if it helps to speed up cruising through the Conflict of Interest Act, members of a council are exempt from pecuniary interest when it comes to voting on their own salary, because if they didn't do it, there really would be no one else to do it. So if you're concerned about it because of your own salary, that's something that we are specifically exempted from. If you're concerned about it because of someone close to you, then that would of course be up to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments on this piece from the council? Is anyone questioning? And just on that, Ms. Greenall, back to you, of course. When we declare a conflict of interest, we declare it and then we don't vote on it. Is that how it works?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A declaration of conflict of interest should be done before discussions of, and yes, then you would not vote on it. If it is a closed item, then the rules pertaining to a closed report would pertain, and generally then we would ask for the members to leave. But in an open session, members may sit, they do not participate in the conversation, and then they also do not participate in the vote.
Okay, so asking for clarification, was that participating in the conversation? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry.
Well, just asking for clarification if I could do it as mayor, as opposed to doing it on thing. Does that consider being part of the discussion? I'm just curious because we haven't actually discussed anything pertaining to this. Is that fair?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would not be the end result on how that would be viewed or applied, but I certainly would agree with your interpretation that it is the discussion on the item as opposed to maybe the rules around the item.
Very good, thanks. Ms. Leach, if I don't vote in the following, do I still have the ability to say that I have a conflict of interest? Just to make sure that we're online here?
Mayor Sloan, you would also be required to submit the declaration of conflict of interest form through the website, which can be arranged.
Okay, that's very kind. Thank you both for explaining that. Councillor Graham, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO, was there any consideration for raises based on performance rather than just automatic 3%?
Apologize, Councillor Graham, before we get into the, and I'm going to let you ask your questions, but I just want to make sure that I am recusing myself from this. So, and please, I can't say it's a good question because that would be over, but I'm going to recuse myself from this if that's okay. And then I'll have, shall we have Todd chair the meeting? That'd be good?
If you would like to have Deputy Mayor chair this report.
Okay, so I'm going to pass your question. Not that it's a good one, not that it's a bad one. I'm going to pass it over to the Deputy Mayor to handle. Is that okay with council? Great, thank you very much. And sorry, Councillor Graham, for interrupting you.
Question stands.
Thank you, Councillor Graham, through you, Deputy Mayor. As you noted in the policy, the wage structure is developed through our pay equity and job evaluation. So all jobs are rated based on their responsibilities and scope of work. It is at job rate of which, in order to maintain ourselves in the 50 percentile wage bracket, that we would apply the CPI annually. Not applying an annual increase then could affect how our job rate would compare to those in similar industries. So this is not an increase based on performance. This is an increase in order to maintain wages within the 50 percentile as compared to like jobs in the industry.
Councillor Graham.
So just to clarify, the answer is no.
Yes, this is not a wage increase based on performance. It is an increase to maintain wages for the roles based on industry standards.
Are there any other questions?
That is correct, Deputy Mayor.
Is there a mover and seconder for this? Councillor Watson? Councillor Connors?
Mr. Chair, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Connors, that report CIO 124 regarding annual remuneration adjustments for council and staff dated January 8th, 2024 from the CIO clerk be received and filed, and that the 2024 salary adjustment as defined by the Municipality of Central Elgin's Corporate Policy 2.1 for all non-union positions, including council, be applied as of January 1st, 2024.
Can we call the vote?
Councillor Graham,
No.
Councillor Halpin. Sorry. Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Noble, and thanks to Ms. Greenall and Ms. Leach. I appreciate the help. And always good to make sure that we're staying on the side. Director of Infrastructure and Community Services, ICS 1024 Front Street Parking and Speeding. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor Sloan. With this report regarding Front Street, staff are looking for direction on three things. Number one, that Front Street is designed as a no parking zone from George Street to the western limit of the road upon completion of construction. Number two, that council approve the additional 40 km/h signs on Front Street at the completion of the project. And three, that council provide direction with respect to the proposed parallel parking bay. Staff is bringing forward this report due to lack of space available on Front Street, specifically for parking upon completion of this project. The design was only allows for a 6-meter asphalt to asphalt roadway. And that does not provide sufficient space for on-street parking. Many of the properties up there have limited parking available in their existing driveways. Therefore, staff, as well as the consultant, have proposed a parallel parking off-street bay to be constructed on the south side of Front Street to accommodate overflow vehicles and accommodate visitors to residents up on Front Street. There have been some residents that have expressed some concern with the parallel parking bay due to the parked cars in the bay blocking the view of the lake. However, This is the only place on Front Street that can accommodate such a facility. And with that, the 40-kilometer-an-hour signs that staff is proposing are being proposed to address some of the concerns from residents regarding potential speeding that may occur on the road upon completion. Happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. Council, can I ask if there are any questions for Mr. Brooks on this item? Councillor Halpin or Councillor Graham? I'll let you, Councillor Halpin, please. Thank you.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, my question was going to be before I could figure what to ask Mr. Brooks. I'd like to ask Councillor Graham about the survey we received because I know she was involved with that.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin. Councillor Graham, floor is yours.
First of all, I would like if we could split those into 3 different motions. Is that possible?
So, well, I'll defer to our team here. The 3 issues, I thought Jeff or Mr. Brooks had 4. Were there 3 or 4? 3? Oh, sorry, my glasses on. Please, would council, can I get the will of council on separating these items? Is there general agreement, or Councillor Connors, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Watson, got Mr. Bachman on there? Yes, Councillor Connors, please.
Before I look at that, through you, Mr. Brooks, is there any cost implications here on any one of these items? In other words, have they been included in the tender that was done, or are they extras to the tender? Are they credits? How is that being dealt with?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brooks?
The additional costs for the parallel parking bay is included in the tendered costs. If council were to delete the parallel parking bay, you would see very minor reduction in costs. It would be negligible in the overall value of the contract. As far as the 40-kilometer-per-hour signs, that is not included in the contract, so it would be extra. We have those signs sitting around the yard. Our roads department could install those upon completion at minor cost.
Thanks, Mr. Brooks. Councillor Connors, does that satisfy your question? Great. Thank you. Now I'll go to Councillor Graham. Sorry, Councillor Graham. Ms. Greenall, please.
So then that would be a motion to split into 4, 1 motion to receive, and then you would like a motion for, well, there's 1 to receive, and then and then you would like 3 separate decisions. So we would need to vote on the motion to do so.
Thank you. And I have a mover from Councillor Graham, and I need a seconder. Councillor Halpin seconding. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Graham, seconded by Councillor Halpin, that the resolution for item ICS 124 be divided into 4 components.
All those in favor? If I could call the vote, please, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
No.
Councillor Bachman,
No.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
No.
Mayor Sloan.
No.
That's defeated.
Councillor Graham.
Okay, so if we're talking about the parking up there, let's talk about the parking situation first, and then I'll talk a little bit about the petition that was forwarded to everyone and submitted to me previously. So in taking a look at the parking up on Front Street, I believe all but 2 houses up there have at least 2 to 6 parking spots at the front of their house, but then at the back of their houses as well. On top of that, there are 6 to 7 spots in a municipal parking lot already. In addition to that, everyone, I believe, received the petition from the 50, there's 53 signatures, but 51 of them are actual residents up there out of the 65 that live up there. So to me, that would seem logical that as representatives of our residents, and the majority of residents don't want that at a negligible cost of $14,000, that we would follow what our residents want.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about this? Councillor Halpin, thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sloan. Although I did see that the residents didn't specifically say that they felt the need for it, I also saw that our engineer drew out for us on the map where the parking for each property ends, and it seemed as though most of them didn't have enough. And the parking report that we received last year said that if we want to be able to keep having free or inexpensive parking in Port, we need to be proactively making sure that there is enough parking in areas where we can plan for it before areas densify. So as far as that goes, I think we owe it not only to the current residents, but as some of these places densify, like we're going to have people wanting granny suites so they can have children stay with them or have parents stay with them and things. And it's a disservice to them if we don't do it now while we're having work done. We do owe them that consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin. Did you want to comment on that, Mr. Brooks? You're good. Councillor Graham. Excuse me. Thank you.
Just to speak through you, Mr. Mayor, just to speak to Councillor Halpin's comment about not having enough. Again, each, other than two to three houses, and I wasn't sure about the back, or they weren't sure about the back portion, there's actually two parking spots at each house from Norma to Tower Heights to Invery Heights. And then again, they have parking behind, to the point where some of them have 4 to 6 parking spots behind them. So there actually isn't a lack of parking up there for them or for people visiting them. And again, the 6 or 7 spots in the municipal parking lot up there. That's why they don't want it, because they already have ample parking, even for people visiting.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Deputy Mayor Noble, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Brooks, the whole purpose of the construction on Front Street is for safety?
The purpose of the construction on Front Street is to protect the slope on the south side of the road.
And when we're looking at Front Street, it's a very narrow road. We just went through Christmas. Thanksgiving wasn't that long ago. We all know what it's like when family comes to visit and you run out of parking spots and people park on the road. With that being on the top of a hill in a very narrow area, and we have Chief Omrod here with us. If you end up with folks that don't have a parking spot and they do park on the road, and we had an emergency, you wouldn't be able to get the fire department through there, I believe. Is that correct?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mr. Brooks, sir, please.
Through you, Mayor Sloan, there may be instances during the winter where on-street parking would present a particular challenge to the snow removal crews based on the narrow right-of-way, and that could just compound the problem with the emergency services potentially having interference on the road with parked cars and piles of snow that haven't been able to be removed. So there is potential issues specifically in the winter.
Thank you, sir. Follow-up supplementary, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So my view is you're not, any of the people that are using those parking spots are going to either be visiting folks up there or they will be the folks that live up there. So I can't imagine those parking spots, if there's a lot of other opportunity to park somewhere else and not disrupt the view, I think those spots will probably not get used that much, but I think they're a good thing to have in the view of safety.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Noble. Councillor Halpin, then Councillor Graham. Sorry, is that okay, Councillor Graham, or do you want to go first? Okay, Councillor Halpin, thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sloan. I do think that's a very interesting point that Deputy Mayor Noble presents, is that if it's true that everyone has such adequate parking, then they will be left open, in which case the view issue will be a moot point.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin. Councillor Graham, please.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, 2 things with regards to the Deputy Mayor's comments. One, my understanding is there's not going to, or we're probably going to pass that there is no on-street parking. So that doesn't take away from any ability for safety if there's no cars parked on the street. Two, the other idea, part of the idea of not having that paved over space when it's currently used as green space is one, it follows within our official plan to put an emphasis on green space, which is part of our official plan. And if you have it as backup parking spots that is not being used, again, it's pavement. So right now there's a bench up there. People go up there. It's part of what used to be Picnic Hill. People go up there to have one of the greatest views in Port Stanley. So if you're paving it over, there's not going to be that opportunity for people to go up there, sit and see the view and have their picnics.
Any other questions or comments? So I think we need a direction on this one. Oh, Councillor Halpin, please.
I would move that we go as recommended on the first few, on receiving for information and on putting up the no parking signs, and that we vote in favor of the 40-kilometer signs and the parking bay.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin. Can I get a seconder to the motion? Deputy Mayor Noble.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that report ICS 124 regarding Front Street parking and speeding be received for information, and that council designate Front Street from George Street to the western limit a no parking zone on both the north and south side of the roadway. And further, that council add additional 40-kilometer-an-hour signs to reinforce bylaw 2301. And further, that council add the proposed parallel parking bay prior to construction commencing.
All those in favor? If we could call the vote, please. Thank you, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
No.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item from the Director of Financial Services, DFS 1024, 2024 interim tax levy bylaw. Firstly, let me say welcome to Mr. Airstone, a seasoned contributor to these types of meetings. Thank you for helping us in the interim, and want to say thank you on behalf of the council, but we look forward to hearing from you this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Sloan. My report, I don't have any additional comments other than what I've got in the report. So if there's any questions, I'll take them.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Airstone from the council? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Noble and Councillor Watson.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin approve the draft bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2024 presented for their consideration, and that staff be authorized to implement the interim levy over 2 equal installments due February 15th and May 15th, 2024.
All those in favor? Call the vote, please, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
DFS 0224, temporary borrowing for current or capital expenditures. Council, any questions for Mr. Airstone on this, please? Mr. Airstone, sir.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize on this report that we don't normally borrow, but it's good to have in place in case there's a declared emergency or a business discontinuance that happens.
Thank you, sir. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Halpin. Deputy Mayor Noble, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin approve the draft bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing for current or capital expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, presented for their consideration.
If you could call the vote, please, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Moving on. Director of Asset Management Development Services, the December monthly building report. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder. Councillor Connors and Councillor Halpin. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Connors, seconded by Councillor Halpin, that report AMDS 124 regarding December monthly building report be received for information.
If you could call the vote, please.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Onto the bylaws. Oh, okay. All right. So onto the bylaws, if I could get a mover and a seconder for first bylaw, 2852, please. Oh. So 2853. Oh, they aren't separate. Okay, so if agreeable, we can take these together, if that's good with everyone. Councillor Halpin and Deputy Mayor, okay with that? Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Noble, that bylaws 2852 and 2853 be taken collectively.
All those in favor? And we could call the vote, please.
Councillor Graham,
Sure.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
And for first and second time, if I could get a mover and a seconder, Councillor Halpin, Councillor Watson. Thank you very much.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Councillor Watson, that bylaws 2852 and 2853 be read a first and second time.
If you could call the vote, please, Ms. Leach.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Need another mover and a seconder for third and final, folks. Deputy Mayor Noble and Councillor Connors. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that bylaws 2852 and 2853 be read a third time and finally passed.
Thank you, Ms. Leach. If you could call the vote, please.
Counselor Graham,
Yes.
Counselor Halpin,
Yes.
Counselor Watson,
Yes.
Counselor Connor,
Yes.
Counselor Bogman,
yes,
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes,
That's carried. Thank you.
thank you. Moving into other business, I think now we go back to Mr. Airstone, our interim director of financial services, for a verbal financial services update. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I commenced my interim duties on December 11th, and I thought it would be prudent just to give you sort of an update of what I've sort of seen through my last month of being here. And I want to talk about sort of 4 areas: business processes, the budget process, reporting requirements, and staff roles within the department. So with regards to business processes, when I arrived on scene, it was determined that there was a number of daily business processes that were behind, and it was mainly due to staff vacancies that had occurred and sort of had been prolonged. Now, staff during that time were trying to fill in for those processes, and they were limited based on they had to keep their own duties up to date. So that's just a common thing that would happen. Sort of the areas that were affected were, our accounts payable, our tax collection, and our month-end processes. But, since arriving, staff have sort of pulled together, and each day we're proceeding to get more things up to date, which is encouraging. And from my standpoint, it's been going well. One of the things also was the year-end process. It's switching the computer over to a new year. It's a common process that businesses go through. And one of the things we were tasked with, we had a number of people that left that were in charge of that process. So nobody really had been involved in past years. So that process is ongoing, but it's progressing slower than usual, but it's progressing well. So I just wanted to mention that to you. With regard to the budget process, that process was put on pause just prior to me getting here. I have met with the directors to determine sort of the status of each one of their departmental budgets. I've also reviewed the accuracy of the human resources costs within the 2024 budget. And there are some small adjustments that need to be made with regard to that. Some of the things that we need to do, we need to update the budget document with regards to actuals for 2023, with regards to the revenues and expenses, and that needs to be done. We're just a little bit behind on that. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the council's needs within that budget process. I don't see where we'll be before you prior to February, but I understand there's a budget committee, and I just want to get a feel for that role and what your expectations are for, the process yourself. But we can talk about that, but at the end. Reporting requirements. There's a council annual remuneration report that I have to do as treasurer by statute, and that has to be to you by the end of February. There's some reporting for 2023 with regards to capital projects for the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund and the Canada Community Build Fund that need to be done. Also with regard to staff roles, one of the I don't want to call it complicating, but one of the issues we need to deal with within the department is we have a number of new staff that are in new roles. So I have to spend a little bit of time on a daily basis, just mentoring them with regards to process and procedures within our statute requirements. So that's something I've been, doing on a daily basis. That's really all the update I have. Maybe we can go back to the question of the budget from council standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Airstone. I take it, and I'll defer to our budget committee reps. We have Councillor Halpin and Councillor Graham. Have we scheduled a budget committee meeting? Either of you want to jump in? Councillor Halpin, thank you.
Through you, Mayor Sloan, our most recent one was just in the wake of the change of hands and was canceled, but I do believe that we're expecting to have one sometime later this month. Right now, there is a survey going on the website that we're hoping to use to get a little bit more guidance about what the community at large would like in this budget. So if there is anyone watching this later, I do encourage you to go to the website and fill that out. So I think that our next steps from here are to get a chance to talk about what the hopes are from within the council and what we're hoping to see reflected in initial drafts of this and what the hopes of the community are and how those things pair up together. Obviously, if we had the strategic plan finished, that would be a little bit easier for us, but I think we're probably going to be at least trying to get to know each other on the committee again and figure that out.
Thanks, Councillor Halpin. Would it be possible or would it be suggested to have Mr. Airstone meet with the committee maybe before our next council meeting for an update? Is that something that's possible? Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, through you. Our next meeting that's on the calendar is scheduled for Wednesday next week, I believe. So as Wednesday, is it this week? Oh gosh. Good thing you're on top of it. I was going to be checking when I got home. So yes, we will be talking sooner rather than later.
Would it be fair, and I'm happy to have council, please, questions or comments, but at the next meeting, once you've had a chance to chat with Mr. Airstone and you've met with the two councils that are our reps, would it be fair to come back at that point and then broaden it to a broader discussion with the council, Mr. Airstone?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Connors.
Through you, Mayor, to Mr. Airstone. Just wondering, with your report that you have due at the end of February, how close are you at that point to giving us a report regarding 2023? It was our first year, as you know, in the council seat, and we'd like to know how the budget looked and how the costs, whether it's a deficit or a surplus, or how it looks, how 2023 looks. How soon would you be able to show us that information?
Mr. Airstone.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. I think that definitely would be available within the budget process when it's presented to you. That it won't be perfect, but it'll be a pretty good estimate of where we stand for 2023. Because it's good to have those comparisons when you're looking at the budget. That's what I'd say is probably doable. Prior to that, probably not. So I would say by the time the budget sometime in February has been presented to you, it will include actuals that are fairly accurate.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Airstone. Do I need to vote on, do I need to move her in a second on that? I've lost my page. We're good. Just for information, other business. Great. I now need a mover and a seconder to move into closed session, please. That will be Deputy Mayor and Councillor Connors. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors. The council proceed into closed session at 7:48 p.m. in order to address a matter pertaining to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
Thank you. If you could call the vote, Ms. Leach, please.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan.
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.